Have you ever been in a relationship where the person didn't leave, but somehow they weren't really there anymore? They still live with you. They still reply to your messages. They still sit beside you on the couch. Yet something feels painfully different. The warmth is gone. The curiosity about you has faded. The care that makes you feel emotionally seen has quietly disappeared. And that's what makes it so confusing. Because if someone leaves, at least you know where you stand. But when someone stops caring without leaving, you're trapped in a space full of unanswered questions. You start asking yourself, am I imagining this? Did I do something wrong? Why does it hurt so much when nothing bad is happening? This kind of emotional loss doesn't come with closure. It comes with silence. And silence can be louder than any goodbye. Before we go any further, let's make one thing very clear. This video is not about blaming anyone. Not you. Not them. Emotional withdrawal doesn't always come from cruelty or selfishness. Often it comes from confusion, fear, exhaustion, or emotional overwhelm. And if you're the one on the receiving end, feeling unseen or slowly pushed to the emotional margins, your pain is valid. You are not too sensitive. You are not asking for too much, and you are definitely not broken for noticing the shift. What we're going to explore today is why someone might stay physically present while emotionally checking out, and why this kind of loss can feel even more painful than an actual breakup. This is about understanding human psychology with gentleness, so you can stop blaming yourself for a distance you didn't create. Let's start with the most important question. Why would someone stay if they no longer care? From the outside, it doesn't make sense. But psychologically, it often does. Emotional burnout. One of the most common reasons is emotional burnout. Over time, when emotional needs go unmet on either side, people don't always fight or leave. Sometimes they simply shut down. Caring requires emotional energy, and when someone feels drained, overwhelmed, or emotionally unsafe, their nervous system may choose disengagement as a form of survival. They don't stop caring because they want to hurt you. They stop caring because they don't know how to keep feeling without hurting themselves. So, instead of talking, instead of confronting, they detach. Instead of leaving, they stay, but with their emotions locked away. Another powerful reason is avoidant attachment. People with avoidant tendencies often struggle with deep emotional closeness. Not because they don't want connection, but because closeness feels threatening. When emotional intimacy increases, their instinct isn't to lean in. It's to pull back. But here's the key part. Avoidant individuals don't always leave relationships. Leaving feels dramatic. Confrontation feels unsafe. So they choose a quieter option. Emotional distance. They reduce affection. They stop asking questions. They become busy. They respond less, not angrily, just vaguely. From their side, it feels like protection. From your side, it feels like abandonment without explanation. Sometimes, people stay because leaving would disrupt their life. Shared routines, financial security, children, social expectations, fear of loneliness. They may no longer feel emotionally invested, but the structure of the relationship feels safe. So they remain physically present, while emotionally disengaging. This creates a painful imbalance. You're still emotionally showing up, while they're simply occupying space, and that imbalance slowly erodes your sense of worth. For many people, emotional honesty feels terrifying. Saying, I don't feel the same anymore, feels cruel. Ending things feels like failure. Admitting emotional change feels overwhelming. So instead of speaking the truth, they fade. They hope the distance goes unnoticed, or that you'll adapt, or that things will magically fix themselves. But emotional neglect is not neutral. It has consequences. And one of those consequences is deep emotional confusion for the person still trying. Let's make this real. Imagine this scenario. You're in a relationship where nothing is technically wrong. There are no big fights, no cheating, no dramatic breakups. The conversations feel different. They no longer ask how your day truly was. When you share something emotional, their response feels flat. Affection feels routine, not intentional. They sit next to you but don't lean into you anymore. They hear you, but don't really listen. And the silence between you feels heavier than any argument ever did. You start replaying moments in your head. Was it something I said? Did I change? Why do I feel lonely when I'm not alone? You might even tell yourself, at least they're still here. But deep down, you know, what you're missing isn't presence, it's emotional connection. And that absence slowly chips away at your sense of security. Now, let's talk about why this experience hurts so deeply. Because many people minimize it, including the person experiencing it. They think they didn't leave. So why does this hurt so much? RS? Why? The brain needs emotional consistency. Your brain is wired for emotional safety. When someone stays physically present but emotionally inconsistent, your nervous system becomes confused. You're receiving mixed signals. They're here, but distant. They care, but not enough. They stay, but don't engage. This inconsistency creates anxiety, self-doubt, and emotional hype. Your mind keeps searching for clarity that never arrives. Psychologists call this ambiguous loss. It's when you lose someone emotionally, but not physically. An ambiguous loss is often more painful than clear endings, because there's no closure. You can't grieve properly. You can't move on. You're stuck in emotional limbo. You're mourning a version of the relationship that technically still exists, but emotionally, it's already gone. When there's no explanation, the mind turns inward. You start blaming yourself. If I were better, they'd care more. If I didn't ask for so much, they wouldn't pull away. If I were enough, this wouldn't be happening. But emotional withdrawal is rarely about one person failing. It's about emotional capacity, coping mechanisms, and unspoken needs. And internalizing someone else's emotional shutdown can quietly damage yourself. Here's something important and gentle. Sometimes, the person who stopped caring doesn't even fully realize it. Caring doesn't disappear overnight. It fades slowly, through unaddressed resentment, through emotional exhaustion, through avoidance. So they continue showing up physically, because they believe they're still trying, but emotionally, they've already disengaged. This doesn't excuse the pain, but it helps explain the confusion. Staying in a relationship where care has faded can slowly change you. You may over-explain yourself, lower your emotional needs, stop expressing feelings, walk on emotional eggshells. Not because you want less, but because you're trying to preserve whatever connection remains. And over time, this survival mode can make you feel smaller, less expressive, less confident, less yourself. Love should expand you, not shrink you. If you're watching this and quietly nodding, let me say this to you clearly. Your pain makes sense. Being emotionally abandoned while someone stays physically present can be deeply You're not dramatic for noticing it, and you're not wrong for wanting emotional presence, not just physical proximity. Someone staying doesn't automatically mean they're still emotionally invested, and someone pulling away emotionally doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means something changed, often silently. And silence doesn't make it less real. Awareness is powerful. Because once you recognize emotional absence for what it is, you stop chasing explanations that only hurt you, and you start listening to yourself again. If this felt like it put words to something you've been feeling quietly, you're not alone. Subscribe for calm psychology insights that help you understand emotional patterns. Without blame, without judgment. Sometimes, understanding is the first step toward emotional peace, and you deserve that peace.